Guys, if you love The Gauge, if you want to support us, we'd really appreciate the support. Please review the podcast. Apple, Spotify, all the platforms have reviewing now. Audible, if you're doing it there. But specifically Apple and Spotify, we really appreciate the reviews. It's an important factor in us growing the podcast. Thank you for listening. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Rock and Roll Denim, Bill Fick Ford, the WCRA, and Resistol. Guys, another year has ticked by. Challenging year, but there was somebody you could rely on if you needed a new Super Duty pickup, and that was Bill Fick Ford. Once again, the #1 Super Duty dealer in the entire country. You guys have seen what's going on in the car business, in the truck business. You're seeing trucks being sold for thousands above MSRP. Well, if you go to Bill Fick Ford, it doesn't matter where you are at in the continental U.S., he will take care of you. He will stand by the product, and he will not take advantage of you. Guys, Bill Fick Ford is the only place you can go in 2022 for a no-bull discount. Bill Fick Ford. Guys, it's that time again. Rodeo Corpus Christi will be one of the largest paying rodeos of the entire year. That's $550,000 with more than $50,000 promised per discipline, with no entry fees. Rodeo Corpus Christi will be the first stop of the WCRA's Triple Crown of Rodeo. The only way to qualify for Rodeo Corpus Christi is by nominating your rides or runs with the WCRA. You can win $1 million by nominating your rides and runs and earning points with the WCRA. Through the Triple Crown of Rodeo, the WCRA will award $1 million in cash prizes to any one athlete or collection of athletes who place first at any 3 consecutive WCRA major rodeos. The WCRA has awarded more than $10.8 million to athletes in a little more than 2 years. Come on, guys. To learn more, just visit WCRArodeo.com and learn how you can earn a spot at Rodeo Corpus Christi and possibly be rodeo's next millionaire. Boom.
What sets Resistol apart is the legacy of the cowboys who wear the brand. These traditions are passed down from fathers to sons, from heroes to future champions. Since 1927, Resistol has been handcrafting the finest American-made cowboy hats. Generation after generation, we live it every day.
This is The Gauge with host Chance Conradu.
Are you freaking serious? It's Conrado. This is The Gauge, and I am Chance Conrado. On this episode of the podcast, we have got Alex McCray and, of course, his wife, Fallon Taylor. This is a 2-part episode. Part 1, we get real deep into business and some backgrounds and just overall super valuable podcast. Check out Part 1. Part 2 will be following shortly.
Beeline to the door, not ruin the entire podcast.
Oh, it's not going to ruin it. If anything, people will probably like that. It's like, look at how real this is. Because everybody's like, the gauge is so real. It's like, yeah, we got babies.
Yeah. Babies and whiskey, man.
Yeah, exactly. Don't specify the order.
Yeah.
Whiskey before baby, baby before whiskey.
I want drink and drive, though.
No.
Which whiskey did you pick?
Woodford Reserve.
Really?
Yeah.
That's anybody who appreciates whiskey goes for that
That's
one.
my go-to lately.
Is it?
Yeah. Have you drank Texas whiskey, TX?
Yeah, there's some over there. Actually, there might not be
Super
any left.
vanilla.
Yeah.
Not in like a bland way, but a actual vanilla flavor way. You
Yeah.
know?
I like
Pendleton is a lot
Kentucky,
like that.
the Kentucky stuff. That's
Yeah.
what I like.
That's where Woodford's from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that Willet's distillery. I think all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff comes from. That stuff's pretty good. Or like if you can get Blanton's, you ever had Blanton's?
Yes.
Blanton's is the shit.
Yeah.
But you just can't get it in Texas.
Or what's it? Eagle Rare? Rare Eagle?
I don't know that one.
It's really good.
I
have a buddy that has like probably 300 bottles
Really?
of like all the crazy stuff. And that one he brought to a camping trip we did like a month ago in Wisconsin. We're all freezing our asses off, and we were drinking that. It was like drinking like, you could barely taste the whiskey in it, but it was like super smooth.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like half a connoisseur. Like I know the names, but I have a hard time telling the difference.
I'm a
between
connoisseur to
flavors.
the point where they tell me what to get, and I go get it.
Yeah, that's it.
But
That's
they're
whole thing.
the ones that know what they're doing.
I'm actually that with literally, if I'm a connoisseur of anything, like a watch or a gun, it's like just because somebody said that's the one, or it's hard
Yeah.
to get.
I'm a
where
connoisseur of
made
guns now, but watches and stuff like that, I just get what's cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my business partner on my business is a freak watch, but he's like, it's like I'm here, but he's like way up there. He's like really cheap. So he's like, would you want an AP Aquanaut? I was like, no, I don't. I don't have $80,000 for a watch.
It's so
Thank you for
pricey.
saying that, but no, there's
Me and
a lot
Fallon,
of other things.
we got each other cool watches, Rolexes, and that's probably the only ones we'll ever buy.
Yeah.
They're like one and done. Like you got the Rolex, you checked it off the list.
Yeah, and then you
And
never
they keep
wind
going
it.
up in value.
They do. Yeah,
know, so-
you do. Everything does. Like nothing goes down in value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe what houses are going for over here. And
We're looking
no
to
sense.
sell now.
Your guys' house or your
Yeah.
place?
Our house. Yep. It's gone up so much in the last 3 years. There's, unprecedented gains in that. The cars I've purchased and that she's purchased have gone up double. I bought a Porsche in the very beginning of the pandemic where people were just kind of like fear selling stuff at like normal prices. And now that I have an 84 911 Carrera Targa, and those are going for like 70, 80 grand. You can't find them anymore.
Yeah, you can't get anything.
No, everybody's hoarded it.
But I think everything's gonna fall, at least based on the people I'm talking to. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm a panic person. Mm-hmm. I've only been like not this, but my other business. I've only been business like 6 years, so it's like very shallow pockets, and so I'm panic mode all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like, what do I do? What do I do? Let me call somebody who's got more experience. What do I do?
Yeah.
And they're like, hold on to everything. Well, if you don't have anything, well, hold on to what you do have. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't use it for payroll.
Yeah. We don't really panic with business.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because we've both been in it so long that business wise, I don't really see anything going away. But when it comes to like assets falling in value, that's more what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
With vehicles and stuff like that, the vehicle bubble bursting, and
I mean, it has to. Like, if you're
at a certain point, it's got to.
looking at everything, used car sales are already down like 30%. Rates
Yeah.
have gone up on everything. The only thing that's probably not going to change around here is housing.
And supply chain will catch back up at a certain point, at least with vehicles.
Yeah.
But you drive by a Ford dealership, there's like 2 vehicles up front right now.
Yeah.
So the used market's still wild on that, but I have a G-Wagon that I've driven for 3 years that's gone up in value, I think like 30 grand now. So I think I'd be stupid if I don't sell that and just get rid of
The
it.
G-Wagon is such a weird car. It's like, if you have a connection to the dealership, you can get a G63 for like the regular price, and then you could sell it for 200 grand more.
Well, you know what the
Somebody buys
dealerships
it.
are doing with that right now is they're having an employee buy it, and then they can raise the value by like 70 grand.
Yeah.
As a one user vehicle.
Yeah, because isn't there some rule
One
they
owner
can't raise
vehicle.
it over like 10% of MSRP, whatever that is?
Yeah,
for
if
cars or
it's
something
brand
like
new.
that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the current racket going on.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Anyway, horse people are like, yeah, we can't afford any of that.
I mean, some horse people, I don't understand how they get the money for some of the ranches at the prices they're at right now. And some people, the value they're buying barrel horses at specifically right now.
I mean, I could tell you how, but it would be offensive. Fallon could tell you too, but it would be offensive to the people.
She doesn't know, but some of these prices are wild.
They are.
Like 300,000 plus.
Yeah, but look at the people who are actually writing the checks. It's a write-off for those people.
That is true. Or it's owned by a company, something like that. Or an
I mean, maybe
LLC.
racehorses, but probably not. Like, if you just think of like the business people who buy a lot of these horses and they put them in trainers' hands, like these are very wealthy people.
Yeah.
And when you buy horses through a business, you get an ag write-off.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Not a full one, but you can just like if you have a $100 million company,
Yeah.
you need like a $300,000 write-off. Doesn't do anything, so it's like you do it 5 times, actually makes a dent, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you pay somebody to train it. And it's just a weird industry. Barrel horses is a weird industry.
We need to start writing off some horses
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
definitely don't do that.
No? Yeah.
I mean, we have a great CPA though, so we pay the government the least amount of money possible.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't need any more
If they don't know what to do with what they've got.
No.
They put it in their pockets, I guess. But anyway,
in a roundabout way. Yeah.
let's talk about Alex a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know a whole lot about you, and the way that Fallon said really good things about it. Like, dude, I really want to talk to Alex. Alex looks cool as shit. He's got the tattoos, he's got the watches, he's, the guns. It's a cool dude.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be really cool to talk about you and kind of hear about your background and some of the details about you. And see kind of where that leads us. I know you've got a lot of business experience, and that's very valuable right now. I think it's important to just continue to put positive messages about things like that out. So I want to just know about your background.
Sure. So I'll go pre me and Fallon.
Yeah. Go way back.
Yeah, I'll go way back. I'll start at like college, which I definitely think, for most young people, it's a great experience, and it's great to, I guess, socialize and start understanding group dynamics and meet different types of people. But at this point, I definitely think it's a waste of money. And I don't want to discourage people from going to college, because I think it's still, there's still some value in that, especially for certain industries. But I went for marketing, and that's where I got my kind of like drive to become a business person, own a business, something like that. I always wanted to own a business. Ever since I was a kid, I'd just come up with all these different ideas on the companies that I wanted to create. And then in college, that's where I started really thinking that I could do it. And I graduated college in 2008, so it was kind of still like early days of like e-com. There wasn't a ton of stuff going on aside from Google. Facebook really didn't have anything business-wise yet. But I'd come up with these company ideas mainly for projects in college. And we came up with one called, it was a horrible name because I think we stole it from something that was actually like a charity. But it was Meals on Wheels, but it was basically Uber Eats. But,
I remember Meals on Wheels.
There's a Meals on Wheels down the road. I'm not kidding.
Meals on Wheels was like definitely a charity, right? Where they
I think
fed
it was a
homeless
charity.
people or something like that. Yeah,
It is still a charity.
So there would have been some copyright infringement there for sure, at least trademark infringement. But it was a food delivery service that you would call in your order to, and then you get hooked up with all these companies locally or these restaurants, and you would deliver it for a certain fee. And this was pre like apps even, I think, or at the time I didn't have an iPhone for sure. So that was one of the business ideas. I had another one. I'm big into rugby. I played that ever since I was in high school all the way till like 2 years ago. And I wanted to do a rugby supply company in the US because the only one was in the UK. It cost like $200 to ship your items over here. Because it was such a long time ago, they really didn't do a whole lot of international shipping for small parcel. But all those ideas I always thought were really cool and they could really work out. And I even had my professor tell me, like, you got to do this rugby thing. I think that could actually work. And like, you're the only person that presented something that sounds actually viable and it wasn't just made up, to get a good grade. He's like, because you probably won't make a ton of money, but you'd make a living yourself, and that's actually a cool company then. So that kind of got me into marketing, and then the whole economy crashed as soon as I graduated.
Like 07, 08? Or?
08, yeah.
Yeah.
So the economy crashed, and I found myself bartending, doing floors for a buddy's hardwood floor company. He was another rugby player, and that was about it. I was just making cash bartending, having a good time, looking for jobs, but there really wasn't a whole lot out there. And then I finally got a job doing essentially telemarketing. And I was telling Fallon about this the other day. I don't think she ever knew that I had this job. It was selling CFOs of hospital systems on an educational system for the healthcare revenue cycle. And I didn't even know what that means. At the time, it was
I definitely don't know what that means.
It was the most boring job I've ever had in my life. And I had no clue what I was selling. I hated it. They had no training. They really didn't even know how to like tell me what it was. So I lasted about a month at that, and that was making like $30,000 a year or something like that. So I knew I wasn't going to do that for very long. Then I ended up just going with a buddy to a supplement store, and we lifted all the time. We still worked out at the college gym. And we just wanted to go to the supplement store. I've been there a bunch of times, but I just all of a sudden was like, I'll fill out an application. Why not? It was sitting right in front of me, filled it out, forgot about it for a couple months, I think. And then finally I was like, you know what? Why wouldn't they hire a college graduate that wants to make minimum wage selling supplements in the store? So I called them up. They told me I was overqualified for a sales position in the store making minimum wage. And I was like, yeah, but like, I'm not asking for any more than that. Like, so I think I'd be really good at this. I ended up knowing a guy that worked in the warehouse there from high school, he called, got me in there, and within 6 months, I was an assistant manager of the store. Apparently, I was the only person in the history of the company that wore a suit to the interview. So I was like doing it all by the books.
You mean you didn't wear a stringer and booty shorts?
Like all the other guys, I think just like went in and knew somebody that was like one of their good buddies, so they got the job right away. But then I actually got in the ear of the person that ran the whole company, and this company it was a couple stores, but they had e-com too, and they were like one of the first big supplement retailers. It's called supplementwarehouse.com. And they did about 10 million a year, something like that. I got in the owner's ear eventually and worked my way up from doing like data entry and all this. Like I understood every position in the company basically because I worked my way up within 1 year and ended up becoming the head of marketing there and essentially running the whole company in terms of like the e-com aspect of that. And we went from 10 million a year to 40 million a year, I think like 38.5 within 2 years. So it exploded, and that's like where I really found my passion for e-com, PPC, social media, all these different things. Funny thing about that job too was he told me I could do Facebook and Instagram in my spare time. I couldn't do it at work because he thought it would never turn into anything. And I was like, no, this is like the next big platform for marketing. And I don't even think there was groups yet, or like.
Yeah, so you were Gary Vee-ing him.
Yeah,
before it was cool.
Essentially, yeah. and I thought I was, I didn't know if it would turn into anything, but I thought it'd be a good idea just because there's so many people on that platform. So I ended up basically running that company. I left there, went to another job at a company that was a big company. I think they were nearly a 9-figure business within the supplement industry. Didn't really enjoy what I did there. It was just a weird culture. I kind of like the startup aspect of the company I was at where, there wasn't really a whole lot of like systems in place. You could kind of fly by the seat of your pants and like try anything you wanted to marketing wise. Went to that company. The coolest part about working there, I was in Orlando, so I could go to Disney every weekend. So that was pretty cool. And like we're big Disney nerds. So that was like the coolest part of that job was living there. There was nothing else that I really enjoyed about that.
Well, what is the specific Disney thing that someone who looks like they beat people up for a living would enjoy? Is it Cinderella? I'm just curious.
Man, I think it's just like an escape from reality. Yeah. Really, like I think it's an escape from reality now. And we have a lot of fun. I know she likes it a lot, so it's more fun going with her than.
Can I clarify something? There's two different things. There's Disney adults. And then there's adults who enjoy going to Disney.
Yes.
And we're not Disney adults.
Yeah.
No, we don't have like memorabilia at home and like things on the wall and stuff like that. It's just fun to go there.
That would change my whole opinion of both of you.
Yeah, I just like, I was born in Tampa, and so I think it's nostalgic. And then he worked in Orlando, so I think it's just nostalgic to go and like, just spend the day where it, and draw a lot of inspiration. I think both of us go and think somebody wrote this down on a piece of paper and somebody else loaned him money for it and believed it could be possible
in a swamp.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty cool.
Like
it
you
is
just
cool.
walk around going,
break it down.
You think you're successful until you go to Disney.
Yeah,
and you walk around and the second floors of when you go down Main Street. Have you been?
Yes.
Okay, so the second floor, all those are actual entities that Walt created as like tax shelters or places to buy other things. Like the story is really, really just inspiring from the business perspective. I think that's we just walk around like somebody thought this up, so we need to think bigger.
Yeah.
And Epcot, you can drink around all of Epcot too. That's kind of a positive when you're an adult. Yeah. And we didn't know that as kids though. So all your parents are getting lit and you had no clue.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you're strategic though, you can get lit anywhere in Disney.
That is true. I mean, what's the place with Everest? That's Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom.
You can get hammered there.
Oh, it was at night, and it's all we were just there. I don't know, right before COVID. My wife is one of those like we got to go every year. I was like, we really don't.
We went during peak COVID.
Yeah.
For New Year's.
Really?
It was bizarre.
I bet that was the best though, because there's probably very few people, right?
There was almost nobody, but the lines were. You had to do actual 5 feet of spacing, and if you took your mask down for like 1 second, they were like on you, ready to kick you
See,
out.
that's why I said no. I shut down the going to Disney during COVID. Because like you can barely breathe in Orlando as it is.
Yeah.
Put a mask? No way.
No, that was miserable. Yeah. But I would take it off, and usually people didn't say anything to me.
Yeah.
But if she did, you know,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they get on her.
They probably would.
Yeah.
Easier approached.
Yeah.
You know, the whole woman thing.
But that's why
Not
we
fair.
like Disney,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. So, but from there, yeah. So that got me, you know, realizing that I didn't want to do the corporate thing and that I'd rather own a business or start a business, whatever it is. And then I came to Dallas to take ownership in Man Sports. So I had a business partner in Man Sports. That was the last company that I owned in that industry. We also had a vitamin company called Nutritox. Both are still around, obviously. I just exited in December. But that was kind of like where I really figured out how to run a business kind of from the ground up. Because with Sub Warehouse, I kind of jumped in when they're already at 10 million, which is a good sized company.
Especially for supplements. Yeah. If you think about you're peddling things that are anywhere from $10 to no more than $100 a piece.
Yeah. The best part of it is that they're replenishable. So unlike ranch dressing that we're doing now, you don't need to replace a t-shirt. You do at some point once you've, you know, used your shirt up enough, but doesn't necessarily mean they're coming back to you. So with supplements, that was the cool thing. It's replenishable. And that was one of the big focuses at that company. How do you make something good enough that people want to come back and buy it again? As you probably know, if you use supplements for a number of years, prior to like 2012, most supplements, they were either like really crazy pre-workouts like Jacked with DMA.
The
and
stuff
like,
that's all canceled now.
Yeah, you can't even bring that in the country.
Yep.
Yeah. It either tasted really bad, or and did nothing for you, or it tasted really bad and was great like that.
Yeah,
Jacked was
there
awesome.
was one. I can't remember what it was called. It was nuts, but I think it had like Tren in it or something crazy.
Was it a pro hormone? Was it a pre-workout?
No, it was a pre-workout or it was some kind
really?
of a thing. This like had banned substances like
It could be,
Trenbolone or something crazy, and it got pulled off the shelves.
It could be EST Labs.
It might have been that.
Yeah,
This was like right when I was coming out of high school, and it was like for some reason everybody was getting really jacked on it, and they didn't know why.
So in high school, I was in high school wrestling, and I just worked my ass off and tried as hard as I could. I was on varsity, but I could like never like crack through and beat a couple of these dudes. Later in college, I found out they were on Superdrol the whole time, like all of high school, and never got off of it. Mm-hmm. And I had no clue why they were so freakishly strong. And apparently, I was just naive, but they were on pro hormones and basically steroids the whole time, which were legal over the counter at the time.
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, and even GNC had them.
Yeah, you always know, though, like the sweaty guy who's constantly touching his nipples is just mad at everyone. It's like, fuck, hey, my mom.
Yeah.
It's like, why? She packed your lunch. I don't get it.
Or all those dudes are like blowing their ACLs out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do these guys keep getting injured? You know, like you're supposed to be a flexible high school kid, but they're like blowing everything and tearing their pec muscles. And
I'm assuming this
know.
was before that like schools were actually drug testing athletes.
Oh, there was nothing going on.
Because I got drug tested multiple times, and I was in damn tennis for a JV team.
Yeah, no. There was.
I know. And I was getting drug tested for it.
That seems expensive.
Sounds ridiculous.
Do people do PEDs for tennis in high school?
Some people, at least within my school district, did get caught doing steroids and shit.
Yeah,
my whole school would have gotten busted for that, apparently. You know?
I have like a very different perspective on it. I think just let everybody do PEDs. It would make everything a little more interesting. I mean, most of them are, but you know, it's very obvious. Like all the guys in the NFL are doing PEDs. You don't just look like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like in the UFC, they have USADA, and I was like, dude, just let everybody do PEDs, and we'll just see who the most jacked, crazy person is, and they'll be the king.
Alistair Overeem.
Yeah,
it would be like 2010 all over again.
Yeah, when he just flattened Brock Lesnar, filleted his face open.
Yeah. And Brock was, you know, he never did steroids.
No.
Yeah.
All I can think is 90s baseball. Jose Canseco.
What was
and that's when baseball was fun. Nobody likes baseball anymore, I don't think.
Mark McGuire, who was just shredded.
Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, I just saw something come across Facebook, and it was Mark McGuire. I was like, what the? Baseball players don't have delts like that.
No, he was a freak. Yeah. And Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
Super jacked.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he was already jacked before he started taking those, too.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, probably.
If I was going to be a professional athlete and PEDs were legal, I'd be on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. TRT at least.
Minimum.
I mean, that's legal. I think they had that in the NFL for a while, and
Really?
then they cut it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, some guys' levels are, like, super suboptimal.
Yeah.
So you're just getting back to, like, being a
Your-
male.
Your average male's testosterone, like I was just listening to some podcast about this. It might have been like More Plates, More Dates or one of those guys.
Yeah, Derek.
Derek,
Yep.
yeah. And I don't know who he was talking to, but they were talking about how low like just your average male's testosterone is from all the
Yeah.
chemical factors that are in the
Well, he
world.
finally made it on Rogan.
Yeah.
So it's probably that one.
Yeah. I have a hard time listening to him because he's so analytical, but
Yeah. And some of the words he uses are really big.
they're real big.
But I'm not sure
And
he knows what they mean either.
He
I
might,
think- yeah.
might not.
Yeah.
It's like when you get when he has a real doctor on though on his show, and then they start sending him to, and he's kind of like
So he doesn't know.
yellow.
Yeah.
I think he does. I think he's really freaking. He's got
Yeah.
to be really smart.
I mean,
Smart
he really
enough to keep
understands
his
it.
hairline. I mean,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
That's why I wear hats.
Yeah, I mean, I started watching that guy years ago, and he didn't have hair, and now he's got hair. So he knows something.
He
about
sells like a
science.
hair regrowth thing too, I think,
Does he?
though. Like like an information product on how to regrow your hair.
Yeah.
And then he sells you the supplements too.
He did get me on his pre-workout, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, because it has way too much active ingredients of like specific varieties. I think he has way more than a clinical dose of beta alanine. I know that he has too much citrulline in like a raw form. Citrulline malate is basically, half citrulline, half malic acid. And then that actually makes it a little more palatable. But I broke down his ingredients, and his whole podcast and all stuff he does is definitely a soft sell for his supplement line, which really isn't that advanced.
No.
Not as advanced as you think like somebody like that would make it.
Well, I assumed it was, and I've always taken Transparent Labs forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally years. And I decided to try his because I was like, man, it does sound good.
Yeah.
And I drank it, and I was like, pfft.
What's it called?
Gorilla.
Gorilla Mind.
Gorilla Mind.
Right? Yeah.
Or Gorilla Mode, maybe.
Gorilla Mode's a pre-workout, yeah.
Some play on the word gorilla.
Yeah.
Anyway, it tastes like gorilla piss.
No,
It's
I figured that.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had everybody's like, oh, we're the first to do Tiger's Blood. We did Tiger's Blood in 2011 for Man Sports. We also did, this is the other kind of cool thing where, going back to trying to make things super enjoyable for the end consumer, and everything else kind of like, protein back in the day tasted kind of just like cardboard with chocolate sprinkled on top of it. It was really bad. The raws were also like not nearly as pure as they are now.
Right.
Pre-workouts were basically like battery acid with like grape on top. Like nothing tasted great. So we went to the extent of working with like flavor labs and food scientists to learn how to mask the ingredients and then flavor over that. And we had crazy flavor scientists work on it. They made like 5 Hour Energy, Fanta, like all these different cool drinks and stuff. And they never did supplements though. I guess they were the main supplier for Hershey too, for candy. So we had the idea of doing candy flavors, which was an idea I sat on for a super long time because I didn't own a company yet, but I wanted to make sure that when I did, I had an idea like that because I thought that would completely change the user experience for people. You go from like the top flavors are fruit punch, grape, and orange. And that was like all you had for years, to doing like, we had Sour Batch, which was like Sour Patch Kids. We made a Skittles, but I spelled it with 2 D's. And we got a letter for that from Wrigley, and we framed that. So that was cool. If we were on their radar at least. We did a bunch of like generics basically. And that was when like, marketing became like super, super fun because you could get creative with that. Even though it was generics, it was super fun coming up with like the logos and trying to market it in a certain way. And that was just us being super scrappy, a small company with really no capital to outmarket people. We had to get creative and do a lot of things on social. That was the infancy of like influencer marketing and stuff like that. And then eventually we met, and Fallon started promoting the brand. She also thought I wasn't interested in dating her. She thought I just wanted her to be a sponsored athlete because I sent her.
How did you guys meet? That's a good question.
Basically in the gym through some friends, because that was 2017 when she was.
Because you guys lived in the same area.
Yeah, but she lived in Collinsville, but would come to Dallas to work out. And I brought her some supplements at the gym she was going to as well. But she thought I just wanted to sponsor her. And then we were texting and calling a little bit. And then she blocked my number for like 2 months straight, I think.
And here I am with your baby.
Yeah. But so it kept going green. And she was like, oh, you just never asked me out. So because I kept texting her. I was like, it's still green. I'm gonna text her one more time. And then it went through, and then we started talking again. She's like, you never asked me on a date. And I was like, well, you were in like Florida, and then you were in like Wyoming and California. I was trying to catch you maybe when you're in town. But she was rodeo full time then, like crazy. But then yeah, we started dating. She started promoting the brand. And then it blew up at that point too, because we were kind of already on a roll, got a ton of products into Vitamin Shop. We were always in talks with GNC. We were blowing up through direct to consumer too with social media. So that was super cool, because when we first met, we really hit it off because of business. The first date we went on was at Albernays, and we like closed the place down. And she was like, oh man, she told me this afterwards, that she was like, dang, like we really hit it off talking business, but he doesn't want to date me. And I was like, how are you the one that's not confident? I'm like going on a date with a super hot chick, and I'm just a dude.
She thinks everybody hates her. She's always saying that shit. She's always like, everybody hates me. It's like, nobody hates you.
Yeah.
Everybody likes you.
There's a lot of people online that apparently hate her once in a while,
But everybody online hates everyone. Those aren't even real
true.
people.
But that's chilled out over the last couple
here,
years.
though, I did get like, my peers reached out and they were like, "We've never hated you. We have so much respect for you." And I was like, "Huh, you guys should tell people that every once in a while."
Yeah, could really use that.
I call people and I'm like, "I have so much respect for you."
Yeah.
And like, I've gone my entire career without that attaboy from my peers. So yeah.
Yeah.
Makes you think they're not your peers.
Yes.
But I think what we do too is like you look at the like couple haters online and like you blow that out of proportion, and that's like the only thing you can focus on. When like you get like for every 100 people that love you and they're like giving you really cool comments, the one person gets under your skin that leaves a negative one, That is the problem with social media as a whole. Yeah.
And it's like your whole thing is built around it. So you have no choice. You've got to do it,
Right.
but it's got to be hard.
She turned her comments off on everything though.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah. But I kept mine on because I don't mind when that happens.
I find
Alex,
it fun.
like to know Alex is like, he's being really tame right now, but to know Alex, like,
Yeah.
the Will Smith,
Slap.
Who'd he slap? Chris Rock?
Chris Rock.
Yeah, Chris Rock.
You did.
That's Alex. Alex is the keep my wife's name.
Oucho. Motherfucking. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that's
as
Alex.
long as you're not Amber Heard, it's good.
I told him,
Yeah.
I was like,
She's
don't-
never done that in bed, but we
Yeah.
did have the baby in bed.
You mean you never had a
yeah, I've never gotten that mad at him ever, ever.
what did he say?
Like,
He's
what?
There's
Human feces.
there was human feces in the bed. And
Yeah.
it's like she
I am.
said it was the
Can we talk about
dog.
where's Johnny Depp's accent from? Where's he from?
Isn't it like
like
England?
Staten Island? He's not from England.
But
is he?
didn't he move there and like Madonna and like developed it?
I mean, dude got famous when he was like 18. It was
Yeah.
just crazy.
He was born in Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Hey,
Get the fuck
I'm-
out of here
That's a
with your-
Kentucky
Listen.
accent.
That's
Yeah.
it. Guys, Rock and Roll Denim has absolutely changed the game when it comes to the performance and style in Western jeans. Top competitors like Shad, Tim O'Connell, Shelly Morgan, you name it. Your boy right here, we're all wearing Rock and Roll Denim. Inside and outside of the arena, it gives you the flexibility you need to win, as well as looking absolutely great in your interviews, appearances, whatever it is you're doing. Even when you're just doing podcasts like me. I had a chance to go to Rock and Roll Denim's factory the other day and pick out all the pants I wanted. Here's the thing. I got to try on a bunch of their new jeans. I love the men's revolver jeans with the reflex stretch technology because they're comfy. They're not stiff like some of the other jeans. Go check them out at rockandrolldenim.com or follow Rock and Roll Denim on Facebook and Instagram for the newest trends in Western fashion. rockandrolldenim.com. Guys, we finally have merch. It's up, thegagepodcaststore.com. Get your merch, buy the merch, buy the merch. thegagepodcaststore.com. That's the one.
I'm so enthralled with this trial.
Oh, I never fall down this. I have met enough celebrities to know that they're all bullshit.
Right.
Like they're not these enlightened people.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
is so good for people to see because it's
Yeah.
like, no, this is what they are. I haven't had like when you meet a real celebrity, they're always whack jobs like that, aren't they?
Yeah, and really short.
They're always small.
Yeah.
Really, really short. And
Yeah.
you're just like, wait,
Shorter
I
than
am
me.
so
Yeah, and shorter than me too.
I'm so shocked by this experience. It's like draining because you're expecting them to be something else.
Yep.
And I get a lot of compliments from parents that are like, "Thanks for being like not a crap human when my kid meets you." And I'm like, "Yeah," because I've had so many opposite experiences with people where you're just like, "Man, that was a letdown."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, same. I've
But
even
Johnny
had
looks
people-
super cool.
He does look super cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, maybe not look super
me
cool. He seems
personally,
super cool.
it's like the 40 years of cocaine, probably not the best thing, but I would have liked to have met or hung out with that version.
I don't
didn't
know.
want to partake,
I
but
feel
would like
about
to-
him like he's like a great pair of boots that have been broken in.
I mean, he's definitely been broken.
He's rugged. It's a rugged. I'm so fat. He's the most interesting man alive to me right now.
I think he's really interesting, and I like his
He's a wordsmith.
Well, he's playing a role right now.
Yeah.
It's a real life, and he's definitely in it's real, but he's acting the whole time, like the long pauses and the
nothing less than
smirks.
everything.
He's been
the
trained
pause.
Nothing
But
less
like,
than
Yeah,
everything.
he's been training his whole life for it.
think about
Hello,
all
he's
the
greatest
text
actor ever.
messages though.
Yeah.
He never thought other people would read that,
No,
and it's
And they're
poetry.
glorious.
they're
Yeah.
amazing. The whole thing's amazing. The only thing that's not is Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's disgusting.
Yeah, she's not great.
And I used to think she was so hot.
Yeah.
yeah, she was good looking.
Yeah, didn't she
But-
win? She was like most beautiful woman alive at one point. She won that award.
Really?
I think
Did
so.
she?
Or most symmetrical face. I could be getting those two things mixed up. Anyway, it's somewhere in that spectrum. But now she's just like
You crapped in Johnny
little
Depp's
lady
bed.
who shit in Johnny Depp's bed.
I don't know what else she did though. I thought she was just like Seth Rogen's girlfriend in Pineapple Express. Was that her?
So
I think that was her.
she,
the high
that's her.
schooler.
she's like Aquaman's girlfriend right now, or was. She ain't that no
Was.
more.
In real life
No, she
or
was
in the movie?
in the movie.
In the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in real life, she was Johnny Depp's girlfriend.
Yeah.
For a
A
while.
wife, right?
Yes.
It was a spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but we're
At
all
the same time. Okay,
we're
sorry.
all business people here, and the fact that fool being worth $300 million let her talk him out of a prenuptial agreement.
But he only paid her $7 million.
Yeah,
That's nothing.
not for when you have 300
Like
million,
think about
but still,
Jeff
it's the principle.
Jeff Bezos, how much he paid out?
Yeah,
He got raked
I mean,
bad.
so bad that his wife from the divorce is now the wealthiest woman alive.
Yeah. Jumped over Oprah.
Yeah,
Uh-oh, is he crying?
Well,
he was
we're
making
just
his
doing the
appearance.
like baby pterodactyl things.
Yeah.
But I think anybody
baby
who's
Gage.
got a wife or an ex-wife, the bar has now been set to as long as you don't shit in their bed, it's probably a clean divorce.
Yeah.
Brings the bar down.
Yesterday, I was like, if you get on my nerves, listen, Amber Heard taught me what to do.
She did.
Okay?
She did.
It's your bed too, though.
Yeah. It's your side.
Top
Yeah.
a whole new level of crazy.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful to me. It's like it's really good for people to see. It's like stop idolizing these people
Yeah.
and start focusing on your own shit.
That's never going to happen. They're not going to stop
Pause.
idolizing the people. Let's be honest.
I don't know.
No, never.
What there's
But the whole thing with Will Smith too, that stuff just got like bizarre.
it's all bizarre.
Yeah, slapping him, and then he's like Chris
all of-
Rock's still smiling.
All of Hollywood is bizarre. I thought Chris Rock, if it wasn't fake, Chris Rock handled it pretty well.
He handled it really well if it wasn't fake, but
Yeah.
it feels fake.
It feels fake. It wasn't much of a slap.
No, and then like Will Smith walked away smiling too, so
Yeah.
that made it a little weird.
Yeah,
And they
I don't
didn't
know
kick
what
him
it
out.
was.
Yeah,
To me, it was Chris Rock was still smiling because he was like, "Did that just fucking happen?" And he's
Yeah.
just kind of in shock at that moment.
yeah, and it really wasn't that bad of a joke.
No, it was a very soft
Hasn't she had a
joke.
shaved head for a while now too?
I don't know. I think the whole problem is that she's been given, their relationships.
Yeah,
Their
the
relations.
entanglements.
The thing was
the husband-wife relations to other people. I
Yeah.
think that might be the problem.
Yeah,
I think the thing was that because Will Smith laughed at the joke and then she gave him the snake eye and
Yeah.
then kind of told him, "Go up there, deal with it."
I mean, but did not Will Smith just made himself look like, I'm going to use a derogatory term, a bitch? It's like,
Yeah.
dude, come on.
and when his like lips were quivering afterwards,
He's like,
he knew he did something wrong.
I done fucked up.
Yeah, yeah,
This is gonna hurt.
yeah. No, it does make celebrities seem super weird and super out of touch with reality. But that even like you could see that through the whole pandemic too.
Oh God, yeah. The virtue signaling and
Yeah.
you're like, come on.
Yeah.
Hey Ty, do me a solid. There's that rain drink over there, the energy drink. Just slide that baby over here.
I had a couple Red Bulls beforehand.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. These are actually not bad. You know who has a good one? He was probably your competitor at one point. You mentioned Christian Guzman's. Those Ghosts. Yeah. Those are good. And they do taste
his is correct. 3D.
3D what?
He owns 3D Energy.
Oh.
And then he's sponsored by Ghost.
Oh, I don't know what he owns.
Which seems like a conflict of interest.
Other than Alpha Land. I want to go to Alpha Land sometimes.
I tried to sponsor him. I have his number in my phone, actually.
Really?
Yeah, like right before he got with Ghost.
Really?
And there was like 3 people that all signed with Ghost, so we're like talking all at the same time.
Yeah.
But Ghost is crushing it.
Yeah.
They're a competitor. I think they got candy flavors from me, you know. They definitely did, because in a video previewing their company, it was all our bottles lined up.
Really?
But I don't think he'll ever admit that. But I mean, I'm out of the industry now, so
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, what pushed you to want to do that, I wonder?
So there's a level of burnout too, I think, just being in that industry for so long. And the fact that a lot of the products, they haven't gotten like, they're not like super watered down, but like there's not a ton of creativity you can put into them anymore, because they've gotten to a level where there's tons of ingredients you can't use. I mean, they're banning stuff like NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is like basically an antioxidant that's going to help with detoxification of liver. But somebody said it could work for COVID. Banned. Boom. You know, there other countries like Brazil. Basically, a pre-workout in Brazil is flavored caffeine. Like you can't do anything with ingredients. Australia shut down like half the ingredients you could use.
They also shut down every form of freedom.
Basically, yeah. And this has been happening for years with Australia. UK banned a number of ingredients. So it just got kind of like tedious trying to figure out and navigate that and still have something unique and enjoyable to take that actually worked and gave you results. The flavors have kind of been pushed as far as they can go, and now everything's going in the direction of like licensed collabs. And with the companies that are doing that, Ghost, Rise, there's a couple other random ones out there. They, you know, it's gotten to the point where you almost can't lock that down, because a lot of these companies that you'd emulate, like let's say Sour Patch Kids or something like that, is owned by a parent company that owns all the other ones. So they're kind of locked in with that one brand that initially got it.
At what point does like 1930s oil stuff take in and they start busting these monopolies?
Yeah, I know. It is. What I mean? It is kind of crazy how much stuff is owned by one person.
I mean, because if you look at like Coca-Cola or PepsiCo or whatever, I mean, they own everything.
Yeah. And Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, at what point do these have to be broken up?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's completely prohibitive from businesses starting, which is the whole reason monopolies are illegal in the first place.
Yeah.
But
and you can see it when you walk into like a gas station, which distributor they're with, because the companies that fall under like Anheuser-Busch, let's say, every energy drink, every alcoholic beverage falls under their umbrella. Yeah. It's kind of wild, but it also limits the competition, you know, companies like us would be able to have if we came to market with an energy drink and, you know, they're with one of our competitors. Well, how do you even get slotted and even try to compete with that? You know? So that was kind of the burnout aspect of it. And then obviously we're having baby. That was one of the other big things, was I want to have more time with Fallon, more time with our baby. We already have a number of businesses that we're doing really good with. And how can I put more focus on those? Yeah, so Man Sports was great. Nutritox was great. The employees are awesome. Great company still. But it was kind of just felt like my time to exit. Been with the company almost 10 years. And yeah, just time to kind of focus on the things that we got going on and spend more time at the ranch and be with my son.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know what's amazing about the Western industry is none of that competition or monopoly really exists. Like it's still the Wild West as far as enterprise or businesses go. And you can do a lot for this like eclectic group of people. They will buy your products. It's not going to be tainted. No one's copying it really. And there's only a couple big players.
There's some parity in it, but you know, for the most part, it seems like people are pretty respectful of not stepping on other people's toes.
Yeah.
And if you do, you can literally go up to them and have a conversation. You know, it doesn't have to be some crazy lawsuit.
Yeah, there's access,
which is kind of cool.
Direct access.
Yeah, and kind of everybody knows everybody. And for me, it's fun because it's a different type of person to market to. Obviously, it's primarily female that we're marketing to, but it's a lot of the same things that I would do for supplements that we're kind of implementing with our businesses. And I just like the Western industry because it still feels kind of like Disney, like an escape from reality, where you go to a rodeo and it feels kind of like a throwback. Everything moves a little slower. All the people are super nice, super friendly. It's just a good atmosphere to be around, and definitely like the atmosphere we want to raise our kid around for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the rest of society, there's not very many, nothing's 100% pure, but as far as by and large, if you just look at the groups of people, the principles, the morals that are attached to it, it is a much more pure place to be.
Where do you pray before a sporting event anymore?
Nowhere.
Besides a rodeo.
10 years ago, every sport. Now it's like you can't do that or you're shunned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, it doesn't even matter what your beliefs are. It's just to have that freedom, and it's okay to do that. The national anthem.
Oh yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
So
nobody's kneeling. I won't get into that though because that's so like 2016 at this point.
So 2016. Yeah.
There's so many more.
I heard there was a virus, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's interesting as far as the story. Now, I guess it's very clear, exactly, as far as businesses, how to operate them, how to structure them. And so what do you think are some of the core principles that people need to have to be successful on their own? I mean, I don't know, how you got fundings or whatever that was. I know how I had to do things and wouldn't recommend it, but, if someone has the drive and the determination, or they think they do, to want to be a quote unquote entrepreneur, way overused word, hate when people use it.
Yeah.
If they're not, like if you're an influencer, you're not an entrepreneur.
No.
Unless you have money invested in something and you have a payroll, I disagree with the word entrepreneur.
If you sell somebody else's products,
yes,
under a structured company, and you're an independent contractor only, it's not an entrepreneur.
Yeah. If you're selling T-shirts on Shopify, I don't know.
Yeah. But I think there's an entrepreneurial spirit there.
Yeah.
But you haven't really taken the risks.
Right.
So I think that's kind of the difference. And for me, like with the companies I was at, a lot of them were already established that I went into, but then like with Man Sports, it was kind of in its infancy. It was a brand since 2004, but my business partner bought it. I came on board and it was like very low revenue. So it was like right in the beginning of it. I took, I think, like $100,000 pay cut to take ownership in that company and come to Dallas. He got me an apartment. I never even saw it. I moved here. I thought it was going to be like the desert. I didn't even know what Dallas looked like. Never come to Texas in my life. Moved here. And that was like really what felt like kind of like the first venture that I was a part of. We were basically self-funded. So it was just like, the money you make for the business goes right back into the business. For years that happened. We really didn't raise our salaries a whole lot. We didn't buy a whole lot. So it was always self-funded. And I think that pressure of not being able to pay your bills if you don't get that product out the door and learn how to market in a creative way, I think that's what fueled me. And that's ultimately what makes a good entrepreneur, I think, too. Just being creative. And you have to, like, we always say it's a numbers thing for us. We're not necessarily like going after the money. We look at the money as a number and like a goal you can set and chase after that. And eventually, like when you're really rolling online, it just feels like monopoly money. It doesn't even feel real because most of the money that you're making goes right back out to buy more inventory for ridiculous shipping rates. You're probably experiencing that right now.
Oh my God. The things that I'm experiencing, it's just brutal. Every cent is tied up in inventories. I mean, whatever amount it's so funny you say that because I have very similar things. Business partner who was way ahead allowed me to buy into a company and then we built it up together. And far less sexy than supplements and clothing, but still same principles. And I mean, that's always been, and I have a lot of entrepreneurs around me at all the time, and the need to pull money out is always the thing that generally is the death of an early entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll never forget. I'll never say the business, but it was somebody who started a business and asked for funding, not from me, but from one of I have two business partners from the other business partner, and so he funded it, and as soon as he funded it and the money was in there, this guy didn't understand what that investment was. That is not capital for you to pay yourself with. That's capital to pay back.
Yeah.
You have to pay that back.
Yeah.
That might as well be a bank. And, this guy started demanding salaries and, I am worth this and that. It's like, no, you're actually not. You're not worth this now. Maybe in 5 years you are. Maybe 2 if you're really good. But you are not worth any of that. You didn't have money, so it's funded for you.
Yep.
You can't pull money out. Everything has to stay in.
Yeah.
People get confused.
In Florida, I was making like 150, and I basically, for that company, I ran like their e-com division. So bodybuilding.com, Amazon. There's a bunch of like heavy hitters back then that have kind of faded away now because Amazon just started crushing everybody. But then when I came to Man Sports, I think I was making like 35 or 40 grand. And like, I was okay with that because I was just like, I'll live super simple, get a small apartment, eat normal food, like, just do a bodybuilder bro diet. Don't really need a whole lot of money invested into that, and just work out. And my primary focus was the business. Like, we'd stay there till 1 or 2 in the morning every night. And that was kind of like, that didn't even feel like pressure. That just felt fun because you're building something. It's really cool when you can see the progress. You can see your products on shelves if you're going like omni-channel and actually going into stores. You can see the social buzz about it. And I think that was like the cool thing for us was just feeling like we had a real business and that we started it ourselves. We didn't kind of ride the coattails of somebody else. Like, that was the first business I was at that was at like 10 million and we went to 40. I had like major imposter syndrome after that. Like, was that really me, or was that like certain things that, the team did, or was that just because Google really took off at the time and AdWords was nuts. And we made all our money because of that. And like, anybody could have done that. I think Fallon has, the same type of deal with imposter syndrome. Like, you did it once, but can you do it again? And then like, once you do it again, you're like, okay, like, you still have a little bit of imposter syndrome. You're like, did I just get lucky again? Am I in the right place, right time? Like, but once you do it multiple times over, you're like, okay, I think I have a plan for this and I really know how to execute that. And you just know if you have the drive or not, because I think by like the 5th or 6th business, you probably would have fizzled out pretty quickly if you didn't enjoy entrepreneurship, and I think the pressure, some people that are entrepreneurs either like completely fold by it. I know people that have ideas, they have a product ready to go, they launch it, and then like they just hate every aspect of it. Like, the idea of owning business sounds really cool, but the inconsistent paycheck is scary. The customer complaints are scary. Even if it's like a positive customer interaction, they're like, they don't even want to like approach it because they're scared of it. And I think that's just like a self-conscious thing with having a product and trying to see if people like it or not. You know what I mean? But for us, I think we've always like enjoyed all those aspects of business. And even, understanding like the little tiny bits of it, of how does the payment processing work? How do you process orders? How do we improve that process to make the customers enjoy the product more? You got to really love like all the little boring parts of it,
You have to be okay with just constantly being engulfed in flames all the time.
Yeah.
Because even the highs, they're so short.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'd be curious what you think, but people get so attached to the idea of like being their own boss, they don't realize that you are not your own boss. You're actually, you're so much farther down the totem pole than your average or higher paid employees, because you're the guy who's shoveling the shit and then also eating that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you work for everybody around you, and you work for everything around you.
Yeah. Yeah, like we loan back money to ourselves all the time, out of our personal bank account back into the business to help it grow. I think that's like a lot of the things that normal employees don't see. And then if they see you go on a vacation or something like that, you almost feel guilty that you're not there, kind of like steering the ship. But that's like the part of entrepreneurship that is the not very sexy part of it, is basically having to run everything. And feeling like you're getting nothing done at the same time,
it's just a hamster wheel.
Yeah. That's what we've experienced a lot lately. We have a great team though. Like at Ranch Dressin', there's great people. The warehouse staff is awesome. The team is great, but I think we always feel like we're kind of treading water. And I think she's out with the baby now, but she could attest to this, that
Yeah, whenever she gets back in, we'll get her take on it.
The bigger it grows, the more you feel like you're like disconnected from it, or like, you know, it's just weird because that's where the monopoly money comes into play too. As your POs go from like, you know, you're sweating when it was like a $20,000 PO, but now it's like $200,000 or $500,000, and then you're really starting to get sweaty about that. Yeah. Yeah. So that was the other crazy thing with the pandemic was, and this is another tough part of entrepreneurship too, is like raising prices and when can you, and like, what's the feedback going to be? Because a shipment that would cost like $6,000 to ship is like 50 to 60 grand now, and taking twice as long to get to you.
Yeah.
So that's I think the part that in supplements, I thought a lot of people are going to drop out. I thought there's going to be companies like, we're done, we can't do it. Shipping protein, heavy containers, all these different things from overseas. The cost of protein, you know, like a 2-pound protein, let's say, went from like $12 to like $40. Who's going to buy a 2-pounder of protein for like 80 for you to be able to make margin, let's say, or sell it through a retailer? You need to have that built-in margin. It's just not there anymore.
No.
You know, that was the tricky thing about supplements, but even with shirts are heavy, denim is heavy, all the things that we're shipping are crazy heavy, and now we're doing the volume that's in the thousands per item every single time, and it's a lot to handle.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those times. Actually, it's been we're going on 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? There was 2020 was a disaster, at least on my side of the businesses that I have and am a part of. Last year was amazing. This year sucks again. And it's just, so 2020 was great for both of us. Man Sports did really well. Ranch Dressing did really well, but that's e-com. Everybody's stuck at home. They were online shopping. Yeah.
That's kind of what made it boom in that year. 2021 was a little more rough for a couple of the businesses because of supply chain issues then that started happening, you know, a year later. Sourcing ingredients became like nearly impossible. Filling retail shelves was super hard. But that even impacted what we were doing with Ranch Dressing in terms of trying to get product to Boot Barn. That became tricky, but e-com for us, we're growing, I think, at a rate of 35 to 40% year over year, the last 3 years now. So it's doing really well. We're pumped about that, but I think that also comes with us expanding the products that we're creating and making more businesses that kind of coincide with that, which is also like, you know, just taking more of our time, more of our attention away from the main company. But we have Tactical Brand, which is all the horse tack, saddles, things of that nature. We have Saddle Sack, which used to just be kind of like everybody called it a fanny pack for your saddle. Now we're doing bags and organizers and these big all-around bags, rope bags, tons of different stuff. That's expanded a ton. And Ranch Dressing, we've done, you know, that's grown so much, but we're doing all these different types of things. Everything's custom now too, which adds kind of another layer of difficulty to it. But at least it all falls within the same industry, and we can put it on one website and not have to kind of like muddy the waters, pushing people all these different directions. But for some reason, like this was like in 2008, the company that I went on board with, they grew, I think, from like 2 million to 10 million before I got there. And that's because supplements seem to be recession proof. Everybody wanted to focus on themselves. They lost their job. They were at home. They were going to buy some supplements and they were going to go to the gym. Seems like the same kind of thing happened in 2020 with supplements. And then even like rodeo almost seemed recession proof too, because of the people not having traditional jobs where they might have gotten laid off or had to work from home or take a pay cut or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if they couldn't go to the rodeos, because a lot of them got canceled, people really started focusing on their stuff at home.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such an interesting industry. That would be another thing I'd be curious about your opinion, coming from as a quote unquote outside person who had nothing to do with it at all. And kind of, I mean, you married Fallon, which is throwing yourself right in the middle of that.
Oh yeah.
Even though she kind of hermit rodeos, stays away from people, but
she does. Yeah. She does that to a level now. Yeah.
But
we pick and choose. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, it's like, what is that like coming from your background, and then you enter into this world, not just several years later. Now you're operating businesses inside the Western world. We're talking stallions and incentives, and you're on point with that, which clearly you're a highly intelligent, analytical guy, and you pick up on stuff. In fact, I don't know any entrepreneurs who aren't like that, at least not successful ones.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't
You have to be into like the specifics. Yeah.
You do. Yeah. And if you're not, you're going to flounder.
And I think like I'm just a marketing nerd too. Like I could talk for like hours about like the different techniques that you can use on Facebook ads and what worked last year and, you know, what's not working now and what's working, and like the different structures that I do and the different targeting and all that stuff. Like I'm super nerdy about all that stuff. But, you know, when it came to like the Western industry, it's cool because I felt like I was like living in the future, because everything that worked for supplements like 2 years prior was currently working in this industry. So it seemed like there's kind of like a little gap there where you see that in a lot of different industries though, where certain ones will be super ahead of the times and certain ones will be kind of lagging back a little bit. So we'd always use kind of like what I did like a couple years prior as like a framework for what would work in this industry. And it just seems like this industry, authenticity like really pays off, where in supplements and fitness, like you really don't see that being the case. Typically it's the people that are like super fake. You know,
there's nothing real about the fitness industry as it's perpetuated.
Super vain.
What's his name? Mike O'Hearn, still a natural. Yeah. Mike O'Hearn. He's like, I've never taken a steroid in my life. Kai Green.
They call him Mike O'Tren.
Yeah. Mike O'Tren.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is guys like that.
In the industry, yeah, like back in the day, you actually thought like BSN's like NO explode stack got Ronnie Coleman that big. Yep. You know, but it was
muscle and fitness.
It's
like all I have to do is these three things and I'm going to look just like Jay Cutler.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically that's what they would pitch you. And luckily with that industry, and I hate to say this because I don't think regulation is that good for anybody when like government steps in too much. No. But when it's like so blatantly false, there has to be some kind of regulation there. And that kind of leveled the playing field too with all the banned ingredients. Like if only a couple people were willing to make the sacrifice of selling those bad ingredients, and they were making all the money off it, it did create really unfair competition for the people like us that were trying to make like a really good product with no artificial colors or dyes or something like that. But that industry definitely seemed to be where you could be as fake as you wanted to and really win. But that was never really our style with Man. And I think that was one of the reasons why we didn't explode like some other companies did. We did really well.
Right.
But we always wanted to be very like honest and truthful.
It's almost the opposite now though, right? Like a little bit like people really want like authenticity and you can almost sell against like,
like so there's fake. Like the transparent labs approach, which was, I think, kind of brought on by Jim Stepani.
Yeah.
When Jim supplements, his pre-Jim was like, it wasn't the first, but full disclosure labels became like the thing, because I think that was in part him teaching people about it, but also customers being so educated on supplements because of the internet that they knew what they were supposed to get in it. And they knew it was, you know, they would knew the difference between a watered down supplement and something like fully dosed and clinically dosed. So I definitely think that's the two shifts there, where there's either the people that want fully transparent, and that became the hot thing for like 3 years, but now it's almost going back to proprietary blends, and all the flavor stuff if the coolest influencer is pitching it. Right. You know, Christian Guzman, Max Tuning, people like that, which is still great because they're good products. I can't watch his
vlogs anymore though.
Max or Christian?
Either.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it's been a long time, but it's just like just another vlog. It's another vlog. Vlogging is not as cool as it once was, my man.
No, I think it's definitely faded out over the years. Yeah.
People just don't have that attention span. But when
C-Bum, you into him?
I mean,
Chris Bumstead, he's a freak.
He's a freak. I mean, and I like his whole way that he is.
Yeah.
And clearly, I mean, I don't know, the fact that the guys in classic physique look like what Arnold used to look is really crazy to me.
Yeah, that's
like classic physique there's nothing classic.
I do like the freak show though.
You do?
Yeah. Yeah, cuz that's like that's still I guess that's like classic to me, even though like I grew up just watching Pumping Iron nonstop, and like in college, like that's what made me go to the gym every day, was like popping in that DVD and watching that. And Arnold was like hilarious back then.
It was really funny.
His physique is like probably one of the best ever, you know, especially for them having like no understanding of like diet and nutrition.
Right.
It was just like a ton of D-ball and test, and like they just cranked that. But that's also why they're all having heart attacks, you know, at a very young age. But I think in the early 2000s, when I really got into it, I did my first competition. I was 19 in 2005. I did an all natural show. And I'd like call him and be like, hey, is L-carnitine, you know, banned or not? You know, like, so I was very strict natural. I was one and done, hated competing after that, but I loved like the freaky bodybuilders from that period, like Jay Cutler at his peak, Ronnie at his peak, Johnny Jackson, Branch Warren, like all those dudes were just like nasty. Never wanted to look like that.
It was an insane. The 90s was an insane
but it was
time.
very entertaining.
Yeah.
You know,
Dorian Yates.
yeah, freak. All those guys back in the day, like Flex Wheeler, and he was short too.
He's a little guy.
Yeah, he was like way shorter
like
than
300
me.
pounds, but like
Yeah.
small height wise.
Humongous. And now he starts like competing natural and stuff, which I don't think you can claim that after you built that physique.
No.
You know, fully enhanced. But yeah, the bodybuilders back then, the freak show was super fun to watch. And I feel like it faded away with men's physique for sure when that became the popular thing, and now it's classic physique, which is super cool because it's like way more realistic.
It is.
And attainable. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, it's not attainable without a large amount of.
Still, yeah.
But even still, like everything has to be perfect. And you have to be a genetic freak.
Yeah.
It's funny. People ask me, it's like, because I talk about nutrition and fitness and stuff all the time. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, what would you choose? Would you choose, like, if you had to give up being into fitness and being at the gym at 6 a.m. every day, or the Western world? Is like, Western world goes.
Yeah.
The Western world goes because without health and fitness, like
Fitness has to be like a pillar.
Nothing else even really matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would love to see, and I bet you would now that you're in it, like these rodeo athletes, and you see it in the PBR, but like really capitalize on health and fitness and like good training programs. I mean, what happens when we see a steer wrestler who's on all the sauce?
Oh yeah.
What happens when that comes?
Yeah.
That would
No,
be pretty cool.
there should be more people that focus on that. And I know there are some for sure that are very into health and fitness. They know it's going to give them longevity, but you know, that's what we literally connected on other than business was fitness when I first met her. And her whole thing was, you know, the more pounds you shave off in a healthy way, the faster you're going to be, especially in a timed event, you know, and going beyond just like weight wise, because everybody's going to have different variations of what's a healthy weight for them. Just the agility aspect of it, or literally the endorphins you get from doing it and having like something else to do besides rodeo. I think it's super healthy to have other hobbies than your main focus, you know, or your career. But I think like especially the PBR guys, like they're focused on longevity. And I think a bunch of those dudes do yoga, flexibility, joint health, all that stuff. I think it goes a long way.
I mean, it has to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about the mechanics of what you're doing and how quick you could just not do it ever again.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to. It's
And
an
most of
interesting
those guys,
sport.
they've rehabbed a lot of stuff, but I think they're getting into prehab too. This is a big thing for rugby, especially with like the fact that we didn't wear pads and like, you know, the injuries are like devastating in that sport too. A lot like football now because you're wearing like 50 pounds of armor basically.
Yeah.
But prehab stuff is huge where you can do a lot of different things to prepare your body for that outside of just lifting weights, let's say. That's going to help you avoid injury or make you come back much quicker if you do get injured.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing rodeo athletes should focus on is the prehab type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And then, you know, there's some events maybe you don't need it, but I mean, if
Yeah.
you saw like an elite, well-trained tie-down roper with all the skills of like Tough or Shad or Shane Hansey or something, but they were just an elite athlete.
Yeah.
What does that look like? I've always wondered that.
No, and just like a freak that can clean and jerk like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Imagine how much easier that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And having the form for it all the time. There's a lot of guys that are doing tie down, and it just looks like they're going to throw their back out every time.
Yeah.
You know, their lifting style, which for them it works, and I'm not going to tell them what works and what doesn't, because I don't do that.
Yeah.
And they're very good at it at a very high level. But it seems like you could incorporate a lot of things that you'd learn from lifting in terms of technique and form that would probably help you do that for many more years.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked out with a lot of rodeo people, and like I grew up with all these people. But and generally, and I hate to say it, but you're even an elite rodeo athlete, separated PBR guy, but when they get into the gym, they're doing all the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you could pull a band or air squat 3,000 times. It's not going to have the desired effect you're looking for, man.
No.
Thank you for tuning in to part 1 of Alex McCray and Fallon Taylor. This episode is sick, and part 2 is the best part of the whole thing. Remember, check out part 2 coming soon. This has been The Gauge, hosted by me, Chance Conrado, produced and edited by our guy Ty Yeager. Shout out to the executive producers Dustin Pointer and Cody Denton. Marketing and content produced by Riley Chone. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow The Gauge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to subscribe to The Gauge wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you guys next time.